Good evening, everybody. Praise the Lord. It's good to be here. We have Bible study this evening. Unfortunately, we had some deaths to occur, and tonight it is important that we spend our time with family. So what you're watching is Bible study taped and live at the same time. All right? So God bless you. Good to have you here with us at the embassy. Keep a few things in mind. We have service every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. And those of you who are in the area, God blesses us almost every week. Maybe not every week, but every other week with someone who comes from out of town to be a blessing and to share with us and be in our services. And so if you're in the area and you're here, come on by the embassy on Saturday morning at 10 o'clock a.m. And the embassy, be at the embassy at 10 o'clock. All right? God bless you. I want to finish, we will finish this coming Saturday, Shabbat, June the 4th, I believe. We will finish our series on the family series, okay? The topic for next week will be when kings reign or when kings rule. Incidentally, I have a guest coming. His name is King Randall. King Randall will be with us. We will talk a little bit about what he's doing with the men, young men in his city of Albany and ultimately across the globe, the program that he's put together. You're not going to want to miss it. So make sure that you are there with us, here with us as we celebrate that time and celebrate the Lord, Yeshua, and our time along together in corporate worship and hearing from King Randall. I will be speaking, and I'll finish this series. Then the following week, we are planning to schedule because we had such great ministry these past couple weeks, and you should go see it. Go backwards 2 weeks, 2 Saturdays, and watch the service with Andy Arguez, Pastor Andy Arguez. It was very prophetic time, very revelatory word that he spoke, 2 in a row. He was scheduled to do 1, and he ended up doing 2, and because it was great, and he needed to finish that series, and wow, it was a blessing. And so make sure you go watch it. Those of you at the embassy, watch it again. Go back and watch it again. It was a blessing. And let's make sure we do that. Also, I would like for you to subscribe, like, and share. Notice we are also on YouTube, and the YouTube is B. Dwayne Harden TV, at B. Dwayne Harden TV, all one word, at B. Dwayne Harden TV, and you can catch us on YouTube. Please go there and subscribe. You will not regret it. As well as Apostle B. Dwayne Harden on Facebook is the name on Facebook. While you're here, write something in there. Go watch it again on YouTube. Just hang out with us, okay? You got a lot to cover. And if this is your first time, we have messages. It's not like back in the day where you had to pay for every message as you left the church in the tape ministry and all of that. We have advanced, and it is so advanced until if we duplicate our efforts enough, YouTube and some of these other outlets will pay you for for that kind of activity. So you guys make sure you subscribe and join in with us. All right, tonight we will be talking about the family. I was talking about the family, and if I can go backwards a little bit, the last time I preached on the family, one of the things that I wanted to to family members or parents to know is that the parenting responsibility is heavy upon you. It is time for us to master what we do as parents, the time we spend, the intentionality, the focus. And so some of those things were there. I talked about how the kids can get on anything, they can watch anything on the internet or pornography or some of these things. And a lot of it, we don't really need invading our space right now. You don't need your children with a high sex drive, and they're 10 years old, 13 years old. All of these kinds of things. You don't need that. We don't need our kids making babies before they're ready to even get a job. We don't need those kinds of things. And if you're not careful, society is teaching them that their sexuality don't matter. It does. What they're saying, it matters more than practically anything. And if you go and have a baby, you can get an abortion and all these kinds of things. Listen, we've got to shoot past where we are. And I know when we bring up things like abortion and LGBTQ and all of these kinds of things, these systems, that now it sounds political. Unfortunately, those weren't issues of politics before. Those were issues of the heart. Those were issues of our own lifestyle, checking ourselves for the sin that's in our life, for how we live in our own personal life. And that was then. But now we don't have that same, we don't have that same activity going on. We used to have parenting that paid attention. And let me come to the defense of parents, because now I know when I was growing up, we only had 3 main stations, ABC, NBC, CBS. And then there was another station, if you were fortunate to get it, and it was like a public, I think it's NPR or PBS or something like that, public broadcasting. And you had those stations. And they also went off at 11 or 12 o'clock at night. And so it was the expectation was that people were asleep and that you would go to sleep at those times of night. And all of a sudden, we come into so many channels, so many streaming possibilities, so many things in our face. And it kind of just hit us all at once. 24-hour television. And that word literally means telling a vision, tell a vision. And whose vision is being told is the one who holds the camera. So, or who sends out the product. So now we have so many things coming at us, but there are still ways to manage it. And it's very important for us to do so. I was just reading a scripture. Let me kind of go backwards, because our parenting has to be, at this point, we have to pay attention to what's going on around us. We do have to pay attention to politics. Politics right now is making it so that the parent don't have any legal right, that the kid has more right than the parent. And so we've got to look at these things, defeat those things, because I don't want no one telling me or telling my daughters what they should do, or my girls what they should do and what they can and can't do without me. I don't want them telling them that they can go cut off their body parts and they're 10 years old, 12 years old, 8 years old, 5 years old, and giving them pills because they feel like at a moment in time they were disappointed because they, maybe thought the idea of being a girl was more rewarding, or being a boy was more rewarding because of different things. I shared the story how one day I just popped out and said one day, because the way my sisters were treated versus the way I was. I mean, I was a boy, and so I was outside working with my father, inside working with my mother. Those things, it was just a constant ongoing onslaught. My sisters barely even hardly worked inside with my mother because they were growing up, and I was helping my mother to raise my sisters. And so we were going forth and going on and all these kinds of variations of life. And I one day just popped out in a need just to feel like I needed a break. And I just shot out and said, I wish I was a girl. Okay? And it wasn't that I was wishing to not be masculine or not be a boy or the gender male. What it was is I wanted the treatment that my sisters were getting. I wanted something. I wanted them to lighten up on me. And just that happens all the time. And when people make a decision when they're grown, that's something else. But when they're a kid, you can't molest them into a decision, seduce them into a decision. You have to allow them to grow up. And parents, we have to protect that space of grow up, which means you're going to have to get engaged in politics. You're going to have to get engaged in seeing what's going on and see what's going on around you, what they're implementing, what is happening at the schools. It's so sad that our kids are being shot up in schools, and that that we now have kids now. Please understand, these are kids, 18-year-old young people going into a school, shooting up a school. Then you have a young kid going in, and yes, he was mentally ill. Does he deserve punishment? Absolutely, but he was mentally ill. And anybody that does these kinds of things is mentally ill, especially at this age group. They've been seduced. They've been molested. They've been molested by a white supremacist group, or they've been molested by some militia or some insurrectionist group or something like that. They've been feeding on that. And parents, we got to make sure we understand what they're feeding on. We got to make sure we're watching their appetite and control their diet. I hope you're catching this. Very, very important. You need to write that in the timeline right there. Control their diet, watch their appetite, and get them prepared to move on to the next dimension of life. You don't want them consumed with the drama of life that just kind of takes them away. You want them to be in a position of life where they can enjoy life, where they can enjoy the benefits of life, where the things of life are not overwhelming to them. That's what you want for them. And I know that's what I want for mine. I don't want my daughters. I got two beautiful grandchildren, two beautiful granddaughters. I have a ton of, let me just say not two. I got a lot of grandchildren, but they're from my goddaughters and so forth. And I got a little boy out in the islands, and you don't want him humping on no girls right now. He's just a little boy. I got beautiful 15-year-old who's now driving with her permit and has her own car, believe it or not. I don't want her to feel the compromise of life in order to live. I want her to know that she can make good decisions, that she can make quality decisions. I want to give her a safe place to be, that even while she's in a state of rebellion, she still has a place that she can come home to and say, I'm safe here, find safety, and that she have enough morality while she is in rebellion, that she has enough morality to know that when she's in the place where she's about to make a bad decision, her moral conscience will kick in, and the parent is who gives that moral conscience. Her moral conscience will kick in, and she would begin at that time to make a better decision, even though she's in a place of rebellion. Maybe showed up to a party she wasn't supposed to be at. Maybe snuck out and saw some young boy, and then the young boy starts saying some things. I want her to be able to make a safe, quality decision, even in a state of rebellion, that can deliver her from the attack that is scheduled to come upon her or any of them while they're in rebellion. The young little guy, Josiah, when he grows up, he needs to be able to appreciate a woman, know what side of the street to walk on, know the responsibility of a man. At a certain point, grow up and not be sitting up in his room masturbating and the young lady masturbating at the same time or in different places because they've been taught that. We got to get to a place where we take responsibility. The onus, parent, is upon us to raise our children. It is not upon them and their screams and their cries and their rebellion for them to get their way. It is up to us to train them in the way they should go. When they get older, they won't depart from it. And so now we are at another place where I want to move from the parenting aspect and just kind of swim in and out with the child, speaking to young men and speaking to young women. Because young women, young men, you make up the next generation of your bloodline, of your family. You have a mother, you have a father. I don't care if the father is in or out your life, or the mother is in or out your life, or if it's dominated by your mother. There there is a responsibility for you, son, daughter, to get in there and begin to learn how to be the best you can be. Some of us, and I will talk to men a little bit, but this coming Saturday is when I will really kind of focus on men. But we have families now, mostly where women are doing the raising of the child. The child is raised by that mother, and that mother, sometimes even with the father in the house, the mother is doing all the work. And that is unfortunate. That is unfortunate because in my study, I ran across something where it says 25% of that child's development will come from the mother, but 75% of that child's development, maturation, and so forth comes from the father. I don't know if you notice the impact that a father has on a daughter or even a son. When that son is trying to grow up, they look at that father's model. And when that father's model isn't there, they get twisted, they get messed up, and they kind of operate from their mother's angle. When a daughter is trying to grow up and become courted by a man, or dating and all of these kinds of things, she's going to look to her father to get that model of what it should be. Now, the wisdom of a mother, the love of a mother, you can't beat it. That is just undeniable, undefeatable. Follow me. But that presence, that strength, that safety and protection of a man, that advice of a man, that wisdom of a man is equally important. In fact, I would argue to say slightly more important than that of the mother, simply because that 75% versus the 25% is in operation. Now, I don't want women getting mad at me and cutting me off. I want you to catch this. You are key. There is no one like you, seriously. When I talk about the effect of a mother, I put that effect slightly above that man, because that mother's nurturing will help that child to develop so that they can handle. See, the milk from your breast will get them to a place of being able to handle strong meat. That father should be strong meat, whereas that mother should be the milk that prepares them for strong meat. And so that's why I put you slightly there. But the reality of it is we have to be working together. Both parents need to be working together. And men, I want to encourage you, your role is crucially important. And it's time for us to get up and make that happen. Now, young people, I want to encourage you, daughters and sons, I want to encourage you in this lesson. So parents, you get your kids, you bring them around, and you tell them to watch. Tell them to watch The Apostle. Yeah. Tell them to watch. Tell them to get on up in here and watch, because some of the things that I'm going to talk about is going to be right in the home. But the kid has to pay attention to it. That child, your son, your daughter, must pay attention to the details that are going on, with you being very intentional. I want you to catch this. Every moment for you in your home is a learning moment or a teaching moment. Parents, it's always a teaching moment and a learning moment. Your children will teach you some things they will learn you some things. They will learn you some things, or teach you some things, properly stated. They will teach you some things while you're teaching them. And if they are smart, they will learn from you while you're teaching them. And you will, and that thing works vice versa. Sometimes I ask my daughter, hey, tell me what this means, or what are y'all thinking right now? Especially during times of like upheaval, times of, I don't know how to describe it, times of, political seasons, or what are you thinking? What is your focus? How are you catching this? And then we go back and have a conversation. We have some very powerful conversations going back and forth. Just like, okay, And it's not a problem to allow them to disagree with you. But there are some things I want you to capture tonight. Like, number one, while you're teaching, you need to know what you're talking about. You cannot be stuck on all these TV shows. Send your kid in the room to study or to do what they want to do, and you separate from them and expect there to be conversation going back and forth. That's one thing. Number two, in order to know what you're talking about, you need to go do some research. You need to do some studying yourself. You need to have some insight. And you can't just operate from a realm of, and I teach this about prophets, but I'm going to say this to parents today, because you cannot properly raise your child only from these realms of opinion, bias, and paradigm, okay? The paradigm you are coming from or have been stuck in may be the paradigm that they're no longer interested in. They were born into your womb, but not in your paradigm. The millennials taught us a great lesson that although we were born from you, born through you, we don't accept what you live in or what you're bound by or what you're stuck to. We have a different portrait of how things are going to go. We see things differently. And if you can get to the point where it's like, I can show you, but I can also learn from you. But then here's where it gets good. When you're learning from them, they don't always have the wisdom. They may be teaching you a lesson, but they don't have the wisdom of application. So while you learn from them, you have wisdom to protect them, wisdom to put them in a box or help them to function outside of the box. There's wisdom there. And so you have to be careful that you don't operate in opinion, bias, and paradigm. If you're biased to certain things or certain eras of music or certain eras of this, you got to be careful that you don't try to force them into that bias or force them into your opinion. But you have to be wise enough to cause them to think about your thought, your opinion on life or safety or dressing properly. You don't want to push them away. Kids will, you would tell them you don't need to dress that way, and they don't understand it. So because they watching TV, and that's how the kids are getting likes and shares and all of these kinds of things. And then we're stuck over here trying to do something that really it's poor execution. We're trying to force it on them, and they're not interested in it being forced on them. But you give them wisdom. You come from a place of wisdom. Even not compromise. Strategy, strategic conversations. How do I strategize and have conversation? And young people, I'm talking to everybody at the same time. You have to open up to realize that your parents do have a degree of wisdom. And you cannot sit there and say things like, but you do it, but you did it. Stop and listen at why they don't want you to do it. Sometimes we have done things that haven't been good for us, but we get stuck in it. At the same time, we want to protect you from it. And you have to understand that although I may be a poor example, I got a friend back home, she's a cussing machine. She can cuss. I mean, but her daughter doesn't cuss like her. Her daughter, every time she slip up and say a word, now her mama is cuss. But when the girls slip up and cuss, guess what she does? Mommy, I'm sorry. Please, I'm sorry. You know what? That mother trained her that even though I do it, I know we say, do as I say, not as I do. I know we don't like that statement, but that statement can save your life. I promise you, I have an uncle, and the young lady, she didn't like to cuss. Okay, I didn't finish that story. She don't cuss. It's not in her language, in her space. The mother grew up cussing like crazy, but the child knows as a grown woman how to not cuss and all of these kinds of things. Her mother loved her enough that even while she was in her mess, she taught this child how not to be messy like her. I got an uncle who, boy, he loves smoking weed. This was years ago. This is every bit of 45, 50 years ago. What am I? So, yeah, that sounds about right. 45, 50, 53 years, 52 years ago. Smoking weed like nuts. I mean, and he used to do this because I grew up in a saved family, right? My grandmother and grandfather had 13 children, all right? He was not the youngest, but close to the age of the youngest. So there was him, then my aunt, who was the baby girl, and then my uncle, who I really grew up with as the baby boy. He's 3 years older than me, and we grew up like brothers. And my aunts and I grew up like sisters, at least that divided portion. The others were straight up aunts. They were older, and then I had some 10, 12 years older than me, and I was in that group. Anyhow, my uncle was in that 10 and under. And I remember him looking at my uncle and I, his baby brother. He was looking at his baby brother. We had a bedroom in my grandmother's home. It was big, like really about 4 people could sleep in that bedroom. And my uncle slept in there. All 3 of us would sleep in there, right? And so it was like a suite. Really, it was. It was just big. Now, don't get to thinking it was a mansion or nothing. It was a huge house. She had 13 kids. And at one time, it could be 8 kids in the house. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So, yeah, about 8, 7 of us running around there, all portions of the house. And so, including her and Pop. So, we had all of this going on at the house. And my uncle, what he would do, he would sit outside on the roof of the house. He would get out the window and sit on the roof in our bedroom, really their bedroom, because I was there all the time, but it was really their bedroom, but it was my bedroom. Anyhow, he would go out and he would smoke weed like crazy, and he'd come in, I'll never forget it, and he would have the munchies and the giggles and all that kind of stuff. But every single time that he got a chance, he would look at my uncle and I and say, "Listen, don't you ever do what I'm doing. I will." And he would say some choice words. Like, in other words, I'm doing this, but don't you do it. And I promise you that intimidation caused me to look at that drug in a way that I never even wanted to test it out. I had friends, and peer pressure didn't even mean nothing to me. I moved into a realm. My best friend and I, and my other best friend, Eric Kinney, we got together and we produced a type of reverse peer pressure. It was like we didn't want to drink. We didn't want to smoke. We didn't do any of those things. We fellowshiped together. We loved each other. I say fellowship, but we hung out and all of those kinds of things because our parenting structure, our parenting system was in place as far as discipline and some of those things. And then here's the other piece. My uncle and all of those who loved us, who was probably doing the thing, they had the mentality, do as I say, not as I do. And guess what? It saved my life not doing what they do. Stop feeling like you have to be so explanatory of your actions, of what you have done that have failed you when you're trying to stop your kids from doing the wrong thing so that they can live a better life. Kids, young people, follow me in this. It's very important that you understand, like we didn't have it all right, but our goal is not to have you doing what we did wrong. Not at all. And sometimes we're walking through our own struggle, walking through our own plight, our own stuff, things that we got wrong, all through the process. And then you say the mother or the father or both the parents would end up saying, you need to be in church. Go read your Bible. But you don't see them reading their Bible. That don't mean that this Bible is not good for you. That doesn't mean that it's not good for you. You need to. And parents, at this very time that I'm talking to kids, I know that I'm telling them to not look at our actions and obey the wisdom. But guess what? It is important for us to grow up, to get in the Word. Look, this Bible has all kinds of instructions. I could go from verse to verse. I was just reading a verse a little bit ago that I was just enjoying. Watch this. In Ecclesiastes, rejoice, young man, in your childhood, and let your heart cheer you in the days of your youth. Walk in the ways of your heart and in the sight of your eyes. But know that for all these things, God will bring you to judgment. So banish anxiety from your heart and cast off distress from your body. For youth and prime of life are fleeting. In other words, like, enjoy yourself, but don't be crazy. You only get to be young one time. It's fleeting. Before you know it, you're grown. I was out in Florida with Jack Brewer. He's a former NFL football player, and he is a Super Bowl winning football player. Incredible football player. And he's helping young men. But this one particular, he's got like a baseball team and all these kinds of teams, football team, and he really trains these young, underprivileged young men, doing what the Bible says, taking care of the fatherless, the orphan. And so what he did, this is fascinating to me, he wanted to go out to the prison and help the brothers out at the prison. And so he told them we was going to play a basketball game. And I ended up being on the team. Now, understand, I probably hadn't played basketball. I'm 56 years old. I probably hadn't played basketball in I don't know, 4 or 5 years. And the last time I really got on the court trying to play, I was horrible. I didn't make one shot. I know how to shoot. I even know how to play. I was just horrible. And in my mind, I'm still like Kobe. I'm still, in my mind, LeBron, let's play one-on-one. I might take you out. I should have been in the league. In my mind. My body don't say the same thing. The conversation that I'm having with you right now is the things I could accomplish when I was young. It was fleeting. But in my mind, I thought, I'd just get out there and run the way I did before. Get out there and play basketball the same way as before. I think I went up and down the court 1.5 times. 1.5 before I was, because my youth was gone. The days of that super energy. And we were playing against inmates at the prison. And these guys they were practicing. They had a coach. They'd been practicing for 3 weeks. They were running plays. And each one of them was I don't think nobody on their team was over 35. They were all just young and strong and ready to go. And they just ran us off the court. One of the guys and this is no joke, and it is funny, but it's not really funny because this was literally what happened. He had to go because he get a stent in his heart. And when they told me that, I bust out laughing because I thought, like, surely it was a joke. It wasn't no joke, but he was older like me. And then and he might be younger than me. There are some other people out on the court, and they just could not handle it. The youth is fleeting, right? Have a good time, but don't do nothing crazy that can take away the life that you're supposed to live in your older years. Don't give away the joy of life, the time you're supposed to spend with your family, your wife and your kids, your husband and your children. Don't give away all of that by getting caught up in drugs or just flat out disobeying your parents or getting caught in the feminist movement or getting caught in all these systems that are causing our young men and young women to not appreciate the gift of marriage, the gift of family, those gifts that belong to you. Don't let these things take over. Don't let these things begin to rule your life, your destiny, your course, where you're going. Sit back. Go play football. Go play basketball. Go play lacrosse. Whatever you're going to do, play some of these sports. Do that. Great. But don't kill yourself. Don't get out there and get caught thinking that you're going to go to the pros when you know yourself you're a mediocre player. Get your homework together. Get your schoolwork together. Learn. Focus on which way you're going. Get the direction, your course in life. Get that course. Lay it out. Share it with your parents. I'm thinking about being an engineer. I'm thinking about being a doctor. I'm thinking about being a lawyer. I don't even know if I want to go to college. Okay, fine. Well, what's your plan? Everybody's not meant for college. I want to be a philanthropist. I want to be someone who helps families come together. I want to be a counselor. I don't know what it is, but lay out your course. Begin to think about that. While you're having fun today, put some time every day into focusing on what will my future look like. Because before you know it, you're going to be done graduated high school. If you go to college, it don't take long. You graduate college, and then you're going to be facing a litany of things that now you don't know which direction to go in. You got to discover which direction you want to go in. Parents, you know the scripture. Train up a child in the way they should go, and when they are old, they will not depart from what? The way they should go. Now, when I was growing up, that was limited to understanding church and God. Yeah, right? All right. Now, which means train up a child how to read the Bible. Train up a child how to, come to church, how to sing, how to dance. Train up the child for that. That's it. That's what we did. That's what we knew. Train up that child for that particular thing in that way that they should go. Now, that's only a portion of it, because the reality of it is you train up a child in the way they should go means this. When you train up a child in the way they should go, you train up a child, watch this, in the way they should go, not the way you think they should go. Now, they will find everything in God. I want you to catch that. They will find all of their lifeline, all of their life supply in God. Everything God has made a way. All blessings, spiritual blessings are theirs. There's a course set for them. You name them properly. You put them on course. And guess what happens? You put us all in a place. You put all of us in a place where now we can benefit from the way that they should go. The way they go is not necessarily the way you're going to go. Great. They need to be in church. They need to have a relationship with God. All of those kinds of things. But they also need to know if they are called to invent, be an inventor, or coming up with new creative ideas. And you may watch them at home take a radio apart and then put that thing back together. You may see them fascinated by the moving of cars. And a lot of times we don't think too much out of a box because we think everything is. Okay? Do y'all know there are still inventions waiting to happen? Cars. We have the same creative ability that God has. We are not finished. They told me about some aliens. And they said these alien spaceships moved at the speed of a Mach 20, M-A-C-H 20, which now breaking the speed barrier is going from 750 miles over, and you break the speed barrier, and the sound barrier, I should say, the sound barrier, and then you break into another realm. And literally, you see now we mastered that. But years ago, it took a guy just the guts to shoot straight through. Most of them would get to about 500 miles an hour. They would slow down and go back because the plane turbulence and all these kinds of things. But when they learn how to break the sound barrier, they break it every day. Somebody's probably out right now in a plane breaking the sound barrier. And that first, once you get over to that realm where, you got this sonic boom and that plane breaks into that next realm, what happens is you have now broken into a realm of speed called Mach speed, M-A-C-H, Mach speed. It has 7 realms per Mach. So if you're at Mach 1, then you still have 7 more to get out of that first Mach, right? 7 more barriers to break in order to get out of that Mach speed. So I would think that 750 miles an hour, so that puts you at about 1,500 miles an hour to get to Mach speed 2. Then I think it's 3,000 miles to get to 3,000 miles per hour, or maybe 1,500 plus another 750 is maybe the number. So you got that, and you keep on going 750, and you keep busting through, and you can do that 7 times before you get to the second realm of Mach speed, Mach 2 speed. You following this? So, so Mach 1 breaking from that 750 miles will be Mach 1.1. That's the way I say it, or 1-1, until you get up to 1-7. Now, can you imagine Mach 20? You breaking through all of these realms at least 20 times, and they say that's how fast these things are traveling. And we think that our Delta airplanes are traveling at that speed now. We think we're doing something, and we think that that's all to be invented, that that's all to be created. It could be that your child is the one to take us into the next realm of travel. It could be that your child begins to operate at a level of intellect that is nurtured to heal some sick disease that is ravaging some country right now. That, they got all kinds of things that they're releasing. That your child would come up with a no matter what they release, bam, they got a cure for it. Bam, they got a cure for it. Bam, they got a cure. That's because you noticed some inventive way or some scientific understanding about their lives. And this Bible will teach them that, I can't think of his name. It might be Booker T. Washington. It might be who had the peanut and discovered by being in the presence of the Lord and studying this scripture, he would go and say, what else did you pull out of this peanut? What else can we pull out of this peanut? Oh, peanut oil. Excellent. Oh, this over here. Great. Oh, that over there. And before you know it, he done created all kinds of things from the peanut. Just the peanut. That was the way he should go. And the earth is better because he was here. That was his way. But his fundamental foundation, his foundation was in prayer and in the word. Now you see, you can't just give them the word. That is the foundation by which they build everything else on. Don't think that the walls are built on just study of the word. Everything else is built upon how they understand the word, how they understand the scientific mind of God, the thought of God, how they understand the system of physics, how God set everything intelligently. There is some kid right now waiting to happen. But if he's in a home where the parent don't train them in the way they should go, or put them on course, or set their course, guess what? That child ends up going in a different direction and could end up being George Floyd as opposed to Bill Johnson. You understand? Or Elon Musk. They can be this boy shooting up the store, the kid, the school, because they don't have anything to stabilize them. I hate to say it, but you can take the guns away. Guns don't kill people. It is irrationally minded people who kill people. That's what it is. And not just every person is irrational, because to protect yourself and you have to defend yourself or defend your family, that doesn't make you irrational. I'm talking about these shootings, these riots, all of this stuff going on. We want to say it's racism, and we can't blame everything on racism, even though the young man killed the people in the grocery store and he said it was racism. He said he was, he made statements about killing black people. And that is blatant hatred, bigotry towards black people. But that young man was troubled. He was a young man. What if there was a father in his life that paid attention steered him in the right direction, kept him away from mental illness? What if we don't feed our kids every pill they give us just so we can be able to go in the room and watch Preachers of LA or Housewives of Atlanta, or just to get away from the kids, period? Kids, I'm going to implore you, young people, take the time to even ask your parents questions. Get up in their face. Tell them you need to spend some time with them. Parents, we need to spend time with them. Walk them in the park and hang out. Just talk. Sit down and read a book with them. Let them see you reading a book. Let them see you praying. Young people, pray. I don't care how much you want to get away or be cool. Sneak and pray. Pray. You'll get out of it eventually. Give God time. If you're going to play the games, those fighting games and all those car racing games and all that, I don't know what to call them no more. We grew up with Mattel. Okay? Little Dashes was our football game, and we just sat there. Y'all actually have real players, and they talk and cheer and all that kind of stuff. You'll be amazed at how far we've come in a technological state. But sometimes you got to close that down, and you got to go and do some good home reading. Got a friend. Her focus is always, she says, why am I going to somebody when there's a library down the street? There's so many inventions inside of you. And that might not even be your thing. This same friend, she had alopecia in her hair. So she started losing hair. And they told her some kind of medical treatments and some scientific stuff, this stuff that was going to happen. But she might not see hair, or she might see it 2 years later or something like that. I can't give you the full honest story. But watch this. She said, I'm going to see about doing this myself. She went in her house, started reading, doing some research, how to do natural, creative stuff. And now people are flooding her every day about this hair product because she's used it. Her hair is growing out. She's got friends. They got them edges all together. And they got their edges. They're growing out in their edges. I told her, I said, send me some. I'm trying to get my edges straight. Anyhow, she said, I said, send me some. But this stuff is working in many cases, most cases, right from her kitchen, from her home. This stuff is helping people to grow their hair within 2 weeks. Now, they're seeing results in 2 weeks. What's in you that need to be cultivated? But you got to sit still. Sit, listen, and ask questions. Talking to kids right now. Parent, have you discovered how to give your child the foundation? Like this young lady. Somehow she just knew. Everything I need to find out is in a book somewhere. I'm going to find it. I'm going to make it work. I'm going to learn how to do what I need. And I promise you, wealth is in that scripture. Train up a child in the way that they should go. Child, you have to be pliable. You got to make yourself available. Parent, somehow you got to keep tilling that soil. You can't let a break go in there. You can't be a part-time parent at the club, after this, and your kids at home, at the club, at the strip club, watching it, or learning how to be a full-time gangster. You know, they learning how to be a full-time gangster by watching New Jack City. or watching some of these gangster shows? When have we even turned them on to watching some science fiction or science, watching the water, the ocean, understanding those things? How about even just parenting by getting them away from their neighborhood, figuring out how to go on vacation, even if it's a staycation, discovering your community and how to take them up a mountain and let them see something they never saw before. Take them hiking, just different things like that, where you are parenting and where they get to exchange information. Before, they might say, I don't want to go. But you tell them, hey, we a family. Develop the love of family in them. And you do that by sitting at a table, eating food together. Birthdays and holidays, especially the feasts, the 7 feasts, found in the Torah. If we take those in the Bible, Torah meaning the first 5 books of the Bible, and then, all the other stuff, the prophets and so forth. But the Old Testament, basically, those 7 feasts, which are also discovered in the New Testament, those are the holidays, not just Memorial Day, which just passed, or the 4th of July, or Halloween, God forbid, all of these kinds of things. Why don't you focus in on these are the feasts? And we're going to sit down and talk about how God brought us out, what he's done for this family member since we've been there. Here is Uncle Joe, who is a great example. We're headed in a direction. Here is this one over here. Let's talk about the state of America. Let's talk about the state of the world. Let's talk about the heart of God and the state of America, the heart of God and the state of the world. You understand? Develop conversation. Cause them to be intrigued. Intertwine life around them with life that you have, the wisdom of your life into them. Take those two and merge them together. Cause our children to understand that you are not just talking. You really know what you're talking about. You've been there. And kids, respect that your parent has been there. Respect that they probably do know what they're talking about. My assistant today, she told me, we went to pick up a few things, and she told me, she says that her daughter looks at her and says, I'm going to start listening to you because you really know what you're talking about. She says, I'm going to start listening to you. Now, the daughter is 19. I'm going to start listening to you. This is a beautiful thing. I was tickled because I was like, beautiful. Now she wants to hear because the mama does know. Now she can forgive. She can walk it out better because the mama does know. I made a statement this past Saturday about being a son, spiritual son, God's son. And I was kind of challenged because sometimes you are raising, spiritual sons and daughters. You're doing different things, trying to be the best example, trying to be a positive influence. And you're constantly reminded of, I didn't do this, or you ain't good enough, or, you just like the rest of us. You're a failure, you sin, and all this kind of stuff. All those kinds of things. Or you just, in many cases, as a spiritual father and all, you get into a place where, you just don't do enough. It's just not enough. I mean, you can break your neck, and it's just not enough. I mean, you're getting told you didn't do enough. You should have did this, or you should have did that. And what you have done never gets recorded, seemingly. And so I was troubled, and I have been troubled by that because I was a good son. My godfather didn't have those issues out of me. My godmother, my spiritual mom, she doesn't have those issues out of me. She doesn't have to worry about if the tithe is going to come, or she doesn't have to worry about whether or not I have done what I'm supposed to do, different things, or even if I mess up. I can talk to my godfather. Is deceased now, so I can't talk to him. My godfather, spiritual father, being Bishop Wagner, because my godfather, every time I say that, I don't want you to think that my godmother doesn't have a husband, but her husband is also my godfather, okay? So I operate from the two godfather system, all right? And he's a great man. They don't have to worry about hearing, and if they do, it's a lie mostly. And if I do something crazy, I'm there to get it fixed, and I'm here their advice and their wisdom. My mother, she doesn't have to worry about whether her son is out doing certain things. I want to be a good son. I want to be a son that makes a difference in the world. My mother and I don't always agree. None of us always agreed, but there was never going to be a sense of disrespect coming from me. And that's all. It's a matter of parenting, proper wisdom, that kid being able to trust that wisdom, because I was able to trust their wisdom. I am able to trust their wisdom. Have I always done great? No. But when I did mess up, it was like I had this thing like, okay, you mess up, I don't want to go back down that road again. Go down another road. I don't want to get in this trouble again, so let me go where I know wisdom is. Let me go where I know wisdom prevails. That's the priority of the day, wisdom. So here, as I close, I want to tell parents, your child is important. Train up a child in the way that child should go. And when they are old, they won't depart from it. So if it's electronics, try to get every electronic thing around them. And at the same time, move them away from electronics and let them read real books. Nurture a positive life. If it's music, that's the way they should go. Don't tell them, hey, you got to stop this music thing and you got to go get a real job. You know, I get challenged with that often. I am around this church and around ministry all week long, all day. My phone don't stop just because it's after 5 o'clock and the office is closed. My phone will ring with somebody's death or with somebody sick and this one in the hospital, or there's somebody's kid is stuck in jail, or somebody is in jail, or they need a place to sleep that night. All kinds of things, all kinds of things. Ministry is something that I have done. I do it, right, all day long. And I have people that are close to me who feel like you don't have a real job. I may not have a commercial job, but I have a real job that takes a lot, right? And don't get locked up in this place to where you're thinking, that's not a real job. That kid, that music ain't a real job. Think of Herbie Hancock never fulfilled who he is. Think of Kirk Franklin or, Shirley Caesar, Mahalia Jackson, Michael Jackson. Think of, Jill Scott or, just Chandler Moore, Jonathan and Jason. Just think if they got to a point to where it's like, this is not a real situation. Now, you might have to work yourself, young people, into that and keep working so that you have money to get it done. But guess what? You got to get in there, and if you're going to do it, do it. Parent, do it. Help them. Let me tell y'all something. There's a greater chance for your child becoming a successful musician than an NBA, NFL, or whatever football player or basketball player. And that nurturing will last forever. The life of a football player. LeBron James is 38 now, I think. He'll be 39 next year. He is considered old in basketball years. His body can't take the same pressure that it had. He had years where he didn't have no real life injury. And now, all of a sudden, in these greater years, it's like his body is in decline. And he will not be able to play another 5-7 years at this level. Not at this level. He'll be able to play, but not at this level. And even if he played 5 years later, they might need him to come off the bench. And because he is LeBron James, chances are he won't be on a team where he's coming off the bench. Just like Kobe Bryant wasn't going to be on a team that he wasn't starting, or Michael Jordan on a team that he's not starting, or Tom Brady on a team where he's not starting. These guys have operated at that level so much until they're not ready to bow down and then submit themselves into a lesser role. They want to now own teams. They want to do things like that. But here's the thing. When you are a child and when you are a parent helping the child and you see that they have a knack for music, they have a knack for certain things, you know what you need to do? You need to look into it and say, I'm going to help this child. I'm going to build an environment for them so that they can become the best at it. I look at this young man. I can't think of his name right now. He's on Instagram. He's just an incredible musician. He'll pick up a bass guitar and play that. He'll pick up a lead guitar and play it. And then he'll play the keyboards and blow your mind. His sister plays the bass. His sister plays the drums. They just go on as a family. His father plays the guitar and plays the bass. And right in their house, it's a home that nurtures genius inside of them. And these kids are going to be rich forever. They're going to have stability. You know why? Because the parent is training them in the way they should go. Not the school system. The parent is engaged. Young people, your success is going to be in how well you honor. Honor the wisdom of somebody. If your mother don't know how to play a piano, but what she can sure do, mother, what you can do is put piano music up in that house all day long. Make that house so that it's, man, we learning. Provide information. Make sure they have a great teacher and start doing it early. Don't let them discover their talent in a place of weakness. Don't let them discover their greatness around drugs. Because then they will never maximize it because the temptation around them is staring them in the face. Is Michael Jordan the greatest basketball player to ever live? Let's just do it, because I don't believe there is one. I believe there are categories. I think Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, in that category. I think Wilt Chamberlain, Kareem Abdul, in that category. Magic Johnson, LeBron James, and Dr. J, in that category. You following me? Different categories. Guard, Chris Paul, some of these others in that category. Now, I wasn't naming my top favorites, so don't tell ESPN and all of them these were my favorites. But just follow along, categorizing it. But is Michael Jordan, who is considered by so many as the best, the GOAT, is he the GOAT? I don't believe so. I don't. I believe the GOAT was either maybe aborted or in some park somewhere, but because they never had a father or the discipline around them to help nurture them and influence, father figure to influence them. Or a mother like Kevin Durant. His mother has stayed true to making sure he becomes one of the greatest basketball players of all time. That nurturing, that presence, helped them to become the most visible. But are they the greatest? I don't know. Rucker Park may have one of the greatest that never was able to put down weed or whatever drug or whatever addiction. And they just became park famous, but not global effective. Michael Jordan became global effective. Kobe Bryant, global effective. Tim Duncan, global effective. LeBron, global effective. You following? Jerry West, global effective. They're still changing the globe. I believe you have an anointing on your life to affect life, the life of so many others, and to affect change in every area of life. Parent, and child. I'm speaking of both. I believe that. I believe in people like Pop Winans with so many kids who never understood that they were poor because Pop made sure they ate. But he built a home of singing. Now he has a son, Marvin Winans, who is a bishop-elect in the church, who they almost single-handedly brought gospel music to another place. He has brothers, Carvin, Marvin, Michael, Ronald, BB, Cece, their sister, Debbie. I'm missing the other sister's name. But all of them, a home, an environment that trained them in the way they should go. Now they have generations following them. You got Vicky Winans, who her nephew is Tim Bowman. That environment kind of nurtured that thing. Bring them in. Kobe Bryant watched his father play basketball. And although his father may not have been his favorite basketball player, Michael Jordan says he wasn't his kid's favorite basketball player, right? And although there were things, that space, that environment, this young fella, not young so much anymore, Stephen Curry, his father, and now he and his brother are in the league playing basketball, shooting the lights out of people. The environment. I think it was them who said our family business is basketball, right? What'll happen now, I don't think Stephen has any boys, but his girls might end up in the pros. You saw Kobe Bryant before he and his daughter took flight from this life. He had a daughter that was probably headed to the League for Women. You understand? It's in that space. LeBron has a kid that he wants to play basketball with. It's in that space. It's not so much basketball I'm talking about. I'm using those as examples. You know, I'm waiting to see what Elon Musk children will produce. I'm waiting to see what your children will produce. And child, I'm waiting to see you become. Your years of being a child is fleeting. In Jewish culture, Hebrew culture, we have bat mitzvah and bar mitzvah, right? In the bar mitzvah, in the bat mitzvah, I think these young ladies are the same. By the time you turn 13, you now have rites of passage into manhood, to womanhood. For you, for me, it's time for us to train up our kids that by the time they're 13, they're going to see what their family business is. That's why Yeshua, Jesus, comes and he says, shouldn't I be about my father's business at age 12? Because 13, in his mind, he needed to be prepared to have a rite of passage into manhood. Now, surely, not too many parents are going to give their keys to the car at age 13. But that child should be learning and focusing on how to drive at age 13, age 12. Seeing the laws and the rules. Understanding the laws of the family business. What we do, where we are. If that child is even meant to function in the family business, in the mob, I watch some of these mob shows, and the number one mobster, he never wants his kids to be in that business. Seem like it. He wants them to be an attorney, or he wants them to be something else. Protect their family, but they won't be touched by what the family has done. The goal is, we're wicked right now, but we're going to protect your destiny so you can legitimize our destiny, our future. You will be the one to clean up our name. You will be the one to take us from gang life, mob life, into productive citizenship. I know what I'm talking about. I come from Youngstown, Ohio. Youngstown, Ohio is mafia all day long. But many of those families from the second or the third generation now, they're wealthy. They're doing well. It was legitimized. that's what I want to encourage you all today. Don't sit back and live comfortable where you are. Take it serious. Parents, take it serious. Children, take it serious. All right? God bless you. I am so grateful that you spent this time with me. Again, Saturday, I will finish up, and King Randall will be here with us. And King Randall has a great work that he's doing. But I will finish this up, and we will be here again next Tuesday for Bible study. And then Saturday, this coming Saturday, of course, we have our Shabbat worship. You don't want to miss that. Tune in. Make sure you subscribe and do all those other things. Now, if you want to give offering right now, this is a time that we do our tithe and our offering. Get your tithe, get your offering, especially those who are part of the embassy. Something is coming up on the screen right now. You can see it right down in there, and it's telling you how you can give, how you can be a blessing at this very moment. We have things that we're doing around here. The embassy is moving forward. We are progressing, and the Lord is with us. Y'all hear me? The Lord is with us. We got some projects to do. I got a room over here that needs to be done. We probably need $50,000 to get that room really done. We need about $15,000 worth of air and heating to get that room done. But the Lord is blessing us that we'll be able to use that as a community event center. And I really want to get that done in the next month or so. Put new lights and new paint on the wall, new windows and everything. It's a great room. Eventually, we're going to build a second floor on that. So your gifts are making a difference. I want you to come when you get a chance and spend some time here. If you've given, I want you to make it a flight and get here and make sure that you can see what we got going on around here. We are going to really make a difference in our world and our community. And we thank you for your gifts, your giving, your faithfulness, your loyalness, and your kindness, because this may be the only time you give. And if you don't give, thank you so much for trusting me to deliver the thought of God to you. It is my goal to give you God's thought, give you his heart, and to put you on course. And I am very, very appreciative to anyone and to everyone who takes the time to flow with me in that area and trust that God has given a word to you through me. All right? God bless you. Have a great day. Have a great night.